Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live Canada immigration. Well, in this case, we're focused on express entry, but there is so much to talk about. There's been so much happening over the last couple of weeks. Today, all of you STEMers, there was a STEM draw. Let's slide over and take a look at it. So the STEM draw, let's see right here. I think, make sure we got the right stuff. Yes, this STEM draw, you can see, just happened today. 500 is all that they did. We're still waiting for 2,500 more healthcare, right? So we'll see how that comes out. But 500 for the STEM draw, July 5th today, score 486. See, it's still relatively high. And as long as they even do a targeted draw and they keep the numbers down like this, these CRS scores are going to be higher. And if we go back to previous rounds, you'll see as well, surprise, surprise, just yesterday on Independence Day in the United States, 700, and you can see how high the score was. And I think this is going to be very indicative of what's going to happen with no program specified draws. You saw the massive jump from June 27th until July 4th. They only did 700 here. You can see how high it is when they do small cohorts of invitations. So the world is going to be shifting. And I think nothing is changing with respect to how important it is to be in Canada. And so when we're looking at trying to strategize and figure out, well, what's the best options for me coming to Canada if you're outside of Canada? Well, if you're looking to immigrate, it is going to be some form of a study permit, a work permit. It's just absolutely critical. Now I'm going to show you, as I've talked about this at length, if you do a Google search here, Canada, H-1B visa holder work permit, and you search for it, and we scroll down here, you can pick one of the videos that I've done, but this H-1B work permit, if we scroll down here, let's just find it. Let's do the tech talent Canada tech talent strategy. Let's pull this up and see what comes up here. Okay, we'll go to this one. All right, there we go. Okay, so if you look here and you think, okay, well, is it important or worth it for any of the H-1B visa holders in the US? And you know who you are. There are a lot in there. There's over 400,000, well, probably 500,000, I think, in change H-1B visa holders. You know, in the world of high tech, is it going to be limited to that? We'll see. Many of you know already that I've created my Canada H-1B work permit, the DIY course. We had an awesome masterclass last night, one of many, many, many. There's still plenty of time for you to jump in and join us. We had a fantastic discussion. We talked about all the possibilities, that what they could do so that people are absolutely ready for this mad race to file. But when you look at this tech talent pathway, there is no better way than an individual who has human capital that isn't hitting this range. Like 486 is freaking high, you guys. When you think about this, and this includes science, technology, engineering, math. And those of you who are wondering, well, what specific occupations? Because it doesn't list on the actual, we'll go back here. It doesn't list on the actual, this here. You need to go to the full text of the ministerial instructions. So if we open that up, then you can see exactly, and this is the actual ministerial instructions from Minister Fraser, this fine fellow right here. These are his instructions. And if we go down and we look, it actually lists, we'll just pull this up here. So let's see, July 5th, following the pool period. Just give me 1 second here. Weird. Why is it doing that? Following, just give me 1 second. I want to make sure that I haven't clicked on the wrong spot here. It means specific ranking, class, invitation, period. That's interesting. For whatever reason, this isn't updated. I don't know why. Okay, we'll just go back. This is the first time I've seen that. Let's go back and we'll just take a look at the other STEM. Maybe they just haven't put it up yet. So we'll go here and, we'll take a look at the other category-based draw. So if you go to healthcare here and we click on this one, then as we go into the full text here, you can see that they actually have, oh, that's really weird. This is so strange. They actually had a breakdown of the list before. I'm not sure why it's disappeared. Anyways, that's fine. If we go to category-based draws, we'll pull up Alicia's article. Draws, EE, and then we'll just go Holthe, and that should pull up Alicia's blog, I think. Yeah, right here. So this is the blog post that Alicia wrote. So if we look here at the numbers, so obviously healthcare, there's a large number of NOCs. STEM, this is it. So this is the actual government list that Alicia's replicated here. So you can see all these occupations from architect to civil engineer to, all through here, data scientist, all the way down to landscape architects, web designers, web developers and programmers, software engineers. So all of these ones here, the STEM, these are the individuals that would have received an ITA if you had indicated at least 6 months of skilled work experience in these areas in your profile. So those who are looking, what will be the impact for no program specified draws? Well, you guys can see what the impact's going to be. People that are looking to apply all the way up, if they only do small numbers, and understand that's the expectation, is that these are going to be smaller cohorts. The CRS score is really high. So French speakers, people that have Canadian work experience, have at least 1 year. These are the individuals that are going to be pushing up into this echelon right here. Because remember, to get, if you have a master's degree, if you have 3 years of skilled work experience, if you have at least a CLB 9, and you're not any older than 29 years old, you're only at 469 points. So it's even more important to be able to come to Canada and work. And so when they're talking about this tech talent strategy, and I'm heavily promoting it, I absolutely am. Anyone who has any desire in the US, if you're an H-1B coming, I heavily promote, because this is going to be your pathway to Canada, because you're getting, there's the first 10,000 applicants, but it's an actual 3-year work permit that will allow you to work, basically anywhere, subject to needing an immigration medical. So times are changing with express entry, you guys. And we'll see, we're expecting that healthcare draw. And if we go back once again to the ministerial instructions, if the last healthcare was just 500 and it was 476 and they did it last week, they said this week we should expect another one, maybe tomorrow. If that happens and they do the 2,500, then for sure this is going to drop down. I would have to assume that this would drop down, into the 460s. But who knows, right? Who knows? And the hard part with the healthcare occupations, if we go back to Alicia's blog post, and for those who are wondering where it is, just go to Holthe Immigration Law, go to blogs and resources, and then you can just go to the blog post and pull this information up. But anyways, when we look at the blog post itself, and we look at the category for healthcare occupations, these individuals up here in the higher echelon, like professionals, like physicians, are almost always going to rank higher. These category ones are almost always going to rank higher than nurse orderlies or other assisted occupations in support of health services, right? Pharmacy tech assistants, these tier 3s, because you often don't have a master's level degree or a professional degree to give you, all those more points. So I just wanted to lay that out for everybody so that people could see kind of what was happening in this crazy world. And yeah, if you haven't, tell me where you're tuning in from. I was trying to pull some of them up while we were waiting for our the session to start, waiting for people to queue in. But please let me know where you're listening from. Sandro, it's good to see you from Brazil. Very, very good to see you. Marianne Go on LinkedIn. Thanks for connecting in, Marianne. Can a visitor inside Canada apply for LMIN work permit or nanny or caregiver, including the public policy for visitor change to work permit? And that's something we're probably not going to cover today. Right off the cuff, I can't answer that. I do not do much work at all with nannies or caregivers. And in terms of the policy for visitor changing to work permits, those suckers, I'd have to go back and take a look at it. Those are constantly changing. And so I can't answer that one, Marianne. Okay. And yeah, OCC, actually wish to stream from Lethbridge soon. Well, I hope you do, OC. I hope you do. Diana, hey, good to see you. When will you have a new Express Entry course masterclass dates? That's a great question. Let's see. We're so heavily involved in this H-1B one. Usually I do a masterclass every week. Let's see. And Diana, when did you subscribe? Because that's the one thing with the courses that I offer you guys. When you subscribe to one, and I'm in the process of revamping and just updating a few of the courses here at the beginning stages, just to accommodate for the new category-based draws. But when you subscribe, you will have the ability to access the future master classes whenever you need to come back and access them. So that's one of the huge benefits to the Express Entry course, is the ongoing master classes. So I suspect, Diana, probably the end of July is when I'm going to do that, but I will keep you posted. We're all so focused on this H-1B because it's a crazy, the first 10,000 race to file. And yeah, so I'll keep you posted on that front. But thank you for asking. And those of you who are also looking at spousal sponsorship or studying in Canada, we have courses for that as well. And they're all on there. It should be in the links below. Okay. All right. Amara says, hi, Mark. Is declining an ITA the only way that will allow to add a spouse from non-accompanying to accompanying, with the spouse CRS points dropping to 483 without his language test results? So I'm tempted to add him. Amara, it all comes down to whether or not it impacts on your eligibility for one of the programs, which rarely it does. And when I mean program, I mean Federal Skilled Worker Program, the CEC, or Federal Skilled Trade. What it comes down to is, will adding your spouse cause your CRS score to drop below the level that you were drawn at with that particular round of invitations? If your CRS score, by adding your spouse and having them assessed, right, including them and adjusting your scores based on having an accompanying spouse, if your scores are not negatively impacted to the point that they fall below the round of invitations, then maybe you can add that spouse. Excuse me. Otherwise, what you're talking about is declining, going back into the pool and having your scores readjusted, and then hoping to get another ITA, which does include the calculations with you being, someone with a spouse. Okay. Abood, good to see you. Hello, hello. Okay. Hi Canada says, what's the significance of no program draws with category based at the same time? Will the NOT codes not included in category based draws only be targeted for no program specified draws? No program specified means it's open season. It's all human capital. And they have told us, and if we go to the ministerial instructions, you can see that whenever, and I'll go back here to the main pages, one more here. When you go to the main page for the draws and you go down, you can see they've said that they are going to continue with the 3 versions. General round, this is the no program specified. Program specific rounds is like a CEC only or an FSW. And then the categories is STEM, healthcare, like that. So they're going to continue doing it. And they only have so many spots. So the annual levels plans, let me see if I can pull this up here. Annual levels plans 2023. If we look at the annual levels plans right here, these numbers haven't changed just because they started category-based draws. The federal high skill are the federal high skill. So they have 82,880 people to land this year. We're into July. Most people, it takes them about 6 months to land. But if you're in Canada, it definitely goes quicker. So you can see here, it's going to jump up in 2024 to 109,000 spots. But ultimately, the category-based draws are going to be just included within this. So they're not adding more necessarily right now with the category-based draws for 2023. But as people roll in and they, start getting ITAs and start submitting in August and into September, like those people are going to be a part of this. And that's why they're starting to ramp up, because some people are thinking, oh my goodness, they've already issued more ITAs than there's quota for 2023. Well, remember, this is people that are actually landed as permanent residents, not those that are receiving invitations to apply. So that's kind of how all of that balances out. So with these rounds of invitations, they're all going to be a part of it. And ultimately, when you're factoring in what the significance is, well, as you can see, for the no program specified, human capital is going to be higher. And if they do smaller, numbers of NOCs, smaller numbers of invitations, the actual round of invitations is going to be pretty high, even for the category based. Okay, Shirley, it's got good insight. What does Shirley have to say? If they continue the category-based draws at that still high CRS, the regular draws will benefit on few point drops. That is, if they will at least invite 15 is just brutal. Well, understand they only have so many spots, Shirley, and they're trying to invite people that they feel are going to make the biggest impact on the Canadian labor market. That's why they created the category-based. They could have just completely tossed the no program specified completely. So I'll take what they can give me for sure. Okay, Abood says, thanks for your nice efforts. As always, I have a question. My points, 475 under CEC. Work permits expired expires in June 2024. Am I in a stable situation? Abood, I recommend you book a consult and we can talk about it. What is your job? How is your employer supporting you? 475. What is your job? Like, do you have the potential at one of the category based? Are you on a post-grad work permit? Should you consider moving to another province? Should you, explore other alternatives if your employer won't get an LMIA for you? So all of those things are factors. At this stage, we haven't seen a willingness of Minister Fraser here to start doing, program-specific draws. We just haven't seen him. He hasn't done, CEC draws for some time. So we just don't know what he's going to do. All right, let's keep zipping. Let's see. And remember, I'm going to try to select express entry related stuff, you guys. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is a tough one. Turnjeet says, hey, Mark, if my work permit extension based on LMIA is refused, can I claim points of that LMIA based job offer in express entry? The better question is, why would it be refused? So I'm going to start with that one, Turnjeet. And ultimately, a work permit that's refused based on the LMIA, then you no longer have that. I guess a better question. This is why these questions are so hard. What type of an LMIA is it? Is it a permanent one? Is it a dual purpose? Is it a work permit only LMIA? That's the kind of information that I would need in order to be able to answer that properly. Okay. All right. Hussam says, hey, Mark, please, after the background check and eligibility is completed, I got an ADR for a new passport, did renewable, but my old passport was retrieved by the ministry. Will IRCC no longer ask me for it? Oh my goodness. This is another one, Hussam, that's very specific. And you guys know that when I'm trying to provide direction and advice, if the questions that you're asking are very, very specific, I will ring my little triangle here and direct you guys to slide over to our website and book a consult with one of us. All you have to do is click on speak to a lawyer. It'll take you right here, and you can book a consult with one of the fine folks in our firm, including myself. All right, keep zipping down. Sandra watching. Okay, great. We've got Simran is over in Abbotsford. We've got Henry's over in Nigeria. Okay, Harmanjeet says, if the work permit extension is refused, is there any way I can continue working at my job? If it's refused and you have no maintained status or anything else, that refusal, even if you have the ability to restore, does not authorize you to work. You must stop work immediately unless there's some other mechanism or some other authorization that allows you to work. If the work permit that you're on and you apply for a new one, and let's say you're in maintained status, the moment that decision happens, you have to stop work. Oh, Dennis says, just subscribe today. Great, Diana. We will make sure that I'll talk with Igor. I'm going to get together with him right after this live stream is done, and we're going to work out a bunch of things. We're also working out our representation of H-1B visa holders. So we, within our firm, we have people that we trust, people that we know will really support and help people. Boy, I'm going to bring this up because, on the YouTube channel, I always face, I don't know, I'm kind of a people pleaser, I guess is the best way to describe it. And so when I have situations, and I'm going to show you here on our channel, if you go to the YouTube channel, it's probably one of the best places to actually search for the videos. And we are just about at 50,000 subscribers. We're really close. But if you look here, our playlist, we have a playlist that is specific to H-1B visa holders here. All right, everyone. Okay. And you can see here, I had a discussion with someone, and I don't even know who this is, but they were very, very critical of what I did. And I can't figure out for the life of me who this person is, but they didn't think, the fees that we're charging for some of the work that we do was acceptable. And I don't know who it is. I don't know who this person is. And I'm always very concerned because we work so hard to provide. Yeah, I don't race to the bottom in fees. No, I'm a 20-year immigration lawyer who, served as the Canadian Bar Association's, national chair. I've devoted unbelievable amounts of time doing these lives and helping people. But obviously this love, is in the US. They're a Canadian citizen. And so maybe they're just, I don't know, maybe they have nothing better to do than be critical. But yeah, I don't know who this is. And anyways, but it's hard because when I see that and then I counter it against, the reviews, and we just had another really, really kind review that came in. Yeah, just recently for, I just saw it this morning from a client, and we work really hard to get this 4.9 rating, right? And so when I have people, and I'll never delete this, like some people will go in and delete negative comments, and I don't want that to happen at all. But yeah, charging people 5,000 plus 5%, that doesn't even include the fees for Canadian processing. Well, this part here, love, obviously, and I really like to pull this up. I have never raised this fee, this 5,000 fee. When I started my practice at Gowlings, one of the national firms in 2000, oh boy, 2003 is when I first started working. I charged $5,000 for spousal sponsorship, like for this particular family. So it's so hard because you'll always find someone that's cheaper, right? And you get absolutely what you pay for. And I know I won't race to the bottom in fees because I don't take more clients than I can handle. And, and we truly care about our clients. So it always cuts a little deep when I get people who post comments like that, especially when I'm, doing everything that I can to try to make a difference in this world. Right. Anyways, it is what it is. Sorry, I'm a tenderhearted. I'm a little bit too sensitive, I think, to this stuff. Okay, Elnaz says, I'm from Toronto. If I apply for the web designer with 1 year Canadian experience, do I need a certificate related to the computer program? No. So like when it comes to, and let's look at the web designer, it all comes down to the NOC. So you said, if you're with 1 year of Canadian experience, do I need a certification related to the computer program? This is where it comes down to. It comes down to the National Occupational Classification System. When you're outside of Canada, Elnaz, and lots of people are really confused about this, to count work experience for the purposes of express entry, it's pretty simple. And let me go, let's go to CEC eligibility, because that's probably, it would most apply to you. So when we look at the minimum requirements, what you need in order to count that work experience in Canada is the following. They're not adding stuff that doesn't exist, but at least 1 year of skilled work experience in the 3 years, full-time, at least 1,560 hours. It can be at more than one job. Yeah. And you gained it while you're in valid work status, how they calculate it, all these kinds of things. You're not eligible if you're a refugee, work without authorization. You didn't have temporary status in Canada. So all those things. And then it also excludes student and all those kinds of things. But when you go down here, education, language, admissibility, if you go here, you can see when it comes to counting it, how we count work experience. When it comes to NOC codes, what they're looking at is that you've performed a substantial number of the main duties for that particular NOC. And that goes the same whether you're CEC or whether you're a federal skilled worker. You can see you must show that you perform the duties in the lead statement. And it says all the essential duties and most of the main duties. I don't like how they describe this because the language of the regulation says a substantial number. So if we go here and then we click on this NOC occupational classification system, we'll go, and remember it's NOC 2021. It's pretty busy. The site is really sluggy and slow. Finally, we got in here, and then job title. Let's type in here, web developer. See if we can find it. Okay, so when we go to web development, web developers and programmers, and we open this up, the part that trips people up is they look at, so yes, you need to perform all the activities here. This is the lead statement. And when it comes to duties, a substantial number of these duties. And the interesting thing is anything that's may is not essential. Okay. So when they say most of the essential duties, I hate how they describe this, all of the essential duties and most of the main duties, that's not what the regulations state. The regulations state that you're performing a substantial number of those main duties. And I won't get into the semantics with that. But essentially anything that's a may is not an essential duty. May doesn't apply. So we're dealing with 4. So I would say you need at least 3 out of these 4. Then it comes down to employment requirements. Okay. So here's the thing that you have to realize. In Canada, yes, if it says that you need something and you're applying for a work permit, well, if you're applying for an LMIA-based work permit and it says you need a bachelor's degree to work in an area, then you're not going to get your work permit issued under the foreign worker program under the LMIA stream. You're not going to get it issued. They'll reject it because they say you don't have the qualifications. But if you look at this here, even in that situation, which doesn't apply, remember, all we are concerned about is the main duties and whether you performed all the activities in the lead statement. But if you look here, the distinction is this. If it says usually required, is usually required, it means that this is optional. It's not mandatory. So even in your situation where you've described here about a web designer, do you need certification related to computer program? No, you just need to be able to show that you performed all the activities in the lead statement and a substantial number of the main duties. All right. There we go. Good question, Elnaz. It's been a while since I've dived in and really talked about this. Okay. Ahmed says, Dear Mark, thanks for all your valuable experience and knowledge you share with us. Do you think you may talk about Francophone Mobility Program? Okay. Well, the thing when it comes to the Francophone Mobilité, and do I talk about it? I encourage you guys to really slide over to my YouTube channel. So if you go back here and you look at the past lives that I did, I think, was it a live or was it, let me close this out of the way. I'm trying to remember. I've done so many videos. Actually, maybe let's go to videos generally and see if it's here. I've got so much that I've done. Canada Visa. Let's see. TR. It must have been a live. Bear with me. Okay, let's see here. Tech, RNIP. Man, okay, let's do this. It's pretty sad, you guys, when you've done so many videos that you can't even remember what you've done. Okay, let's type in Francophone. Okay, yes, I knew I did one 2 weeks ago. So I did a video right here talking about the Francophone program. And so I encourage you to slide over. And it's just a short little video, easy to consume, easy to watch. Yeah, it's where I go, where I basically talk about what's changed and from before until now. And yeah, it's the government obviously expanded it, right? So one of the things that we're in the process of, I can't remember if it's live right now, but with the Francophone program, the beauty of that is that the employer doesn't need a labor market impact assessment, right, Hamed? And the key is that the person, that French is their language of habitual use, but the standard and the level that they have to achieve, the actual skill level used to have to be, excuse me. The skill level has to be, used to have to be skilled, like a tier 3 or higher, but that's not the case anymore. And so, yeah, that program, it's good. And ultimately, when you're looking at any of this stuff, you guys, there's lots of people that say, oh, it's all online, you can find it. And they're right. The general provisions for, let's say, the Francophone program, Francophone Mobilité, how to apply, it's right here, right? So you can see LMI exemption for tier 4 and 5. So as of June 15th, Canadian employers are temporarily exempted from needing an LMIA to hire French speaking or bilingual workers outside Quebec. That's another key. They can't be coming to Quebec, who classify under tier categories 4 and 5. This pilot project is valid for a period of 2 years. So what that did was it opened it up so that employers could hire anybody. And what does that mean? It's massive, actually. Because if you're bringing someone in from, or someone's coming from a French-speaking country or background, they have the ability to, to get a job, and the employer just needs to register through the International Mobility Program. Remember, there's 2 types of work permit pathways in Canada. One is essentially LMIA based, and then the other is LMIA exempt, but you have to meet certain requirements. And so the International Mobility Program governs all of those open work permits and the work permits that don't require an LMIA. So there you go, Hamed. A little bit of intel there. Okay, Henry says, I sit at 475, was hoping for at least 1,000 STEM draws. How soon will the next STEM draw be? Let's see. Do you know what? I wish I could just get Minister Fraser on and say, hey, Minister, when are you guys going to do another STEM draw? I attended a technical briefing on the category-based draws, and Alicia and I actually, we did a live stream on it. We talked about the specific things that that the government shared with employers, and this question was asked to the department heads, and they said, well, it just depends. And we don't, we don't know for certain. It's constantly fluctuating. So I can't even answer that, Henry. Okay, let's see here. Good morning to Hasing and Amar. Yes, the STEM draw took place. You bet it did. Thanks for letting us know, Amar. Yes, it did. Okay, and thanks for tuning on Facebook. I love to see that this is reaching other people and other streams, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Okay, all right. Kumaraval. Okay, this is another good express entry question. I worked in the UK for a year, but it's an internal company transfer from India. Do I need to break down this work experience and explicitly show this in my profile with start and end date? I do, absolutely, Kamaravel. I do want and encourage all of my, all of the students of my Express Entry course. I include all of them. I encourage all of them to do that. And those of you who have subscribed, like I said, in the course, I have a specific section devoted exclusively to the question that you're asking. And you're asking a question. I'm just going to jump in and I'll show you guys the course so you can see what it is. But in the course here, the lesson on there's completing your Express Entry profile right here. We talk specifically about how you deal with the work history section. And so in the work history, and you can see it's 38 minutes long, this one alone, just in detail, teaching people, showing them how to how to properly enter the information in for your work history section. But one of the things that we teach in the course, and one of the things that I teach in the course, is that if you are working in a different location, the system doesn't allow you an opportunity. If you're physically working in the UK and you transfer from India, I break those down into 2 separate work histories. Otherwise, how do you do it? How do you properly indicate, and in your personal history, where you're living when, if you say, well, I'm living in UK during this time, but your work history only says India as your work history. So to remove that challenge, I do, anytime there's a geographic shift in a different country, I will create a separate work history for that section. Now, both of those can still be on the same reference letter from the employer. That's not a problem at all. And you can upload that same reference letter into both spots, but I do break it down for the reasons that you've indicated. Okay, Jonathan says, hey, Mark, does the new H-1B work permit program include L1 visa holders? No, it's just H-1B visa holders, Jonathan. And I agree with David here 100%. The government is not taking into account all the international students that stayed during the pandemic. Try to hit a general draw of 511 is almost impossible. Lots of people are stuck in 480. I know. And I asked this question repeatedly. Like with the Canadian Bar Association, when I was national chair, we prepared a submission to them that was basically a CEC plus, essentially. We said, look, if there's international students that have been working for 2 years in Canada, at least, like you, David, maybe this is your case. If you're working in Canada, you've been here for 2 years, well, there should be something separate for you. So maybe 2 years plus a post-grad work permit on a post-grad then gives you a separate program or separate way to come through. But what the minister has done here, I just don't know how this is solving the issue. I don't. And this is where I'm really critical of Minister Fraser, because if he's willing to give these 18-month extensions, they're hoping that that's going to give you more points, but it's never going to amount to enough, right? It's not. And this is where I think you guys have really missed the boat, Minister Fraser. Either don't extend the 18-month work permit and people just go home, or like don't expect that these students like David is going to be able to hit 511 for a no program specified draw. It's just not going to happen no matter how many years they work in Canada. Once you hit that, if you look at the CRS, let's take a look at it together. We're all learning together, and this is really focused on Express Entry. So if we go here to the EECRS criteria, we'll pull this one up, and you can see from Canadian work experience where students going to get points. So there's a maximum here for Canadian experience of 70. Well, it's 80 if you're without a partner. So we'll assume you're 80. And when we go down here to the actual work experience, you'll see that the points for work experience without a spouse, you're only getting 40. Well, you're getting 40 after 1 year, which is great. But then 53, it's only 13 more. And then 64, another 11. So you can see these points are not climbing fast enough to cause someone to jump all the way up to 500 plus. So I hear you. I feel for you. I get it. I totally get it, David. And I wish that the department would have carved out something to just deal with the massive backlog of you guys. All right. Sahil, my CRS was 482. Got my invite on the last draw with 41 cutoff. Waiting for PR now. Your channel has been really helpful. I'm so happy, Sahil. See, that's like, if I can be of help and assistance and direction, yes, I want you to hire me. Yes, I want you guys to take the course. Why? Because I know that together, when we work together, your application is going to be stronger than if you do it on your own. It's like, take it this way. If you retain me to help you, And you just fill out a form and send it to me, and I prepare the application and submit it. That type of an approach is never going to be as strong, even if I'm the one filing your application, as it is if you and I are working together. And if we're both working on it together, we're on a call together, we're on a Zoom screen share, and we're going through everything together, like things don't get missed. But when we do it on our own, either you or me, it's never as strong. And that's why, within the firm, I've talked a lot about the way that we do work and the way that we represent people when they retain us. And I would hold that process up. If you look at About Us and our approach, see if I can find it here. I've got so much. This is driving me crazy. If we go to our approach here, this direct lawyer to client, there's no middle person. It's just us, me, and you, Alicia and you, Igor and you. And so is it as profitable? And speaking of this other person who was saying I charge so much, there's a reason I do, because I don't separate it out. I don't have paralegals that I'm paying $20 an hour to working on your application. It's just me and you. And so I can't really scale it. But what I scale are the courses. When you pay $375 US or whatever it is, I can't even remember, 47 US, to be a part of the course. And we had a wonderful, the H-1B visa holder course last night, the very first masterclass of many, and there's totally time to join in. That's where we can really dive in deep. You learn from each other. I learn from you. I get better by workshopping. And I think we had 40 people that were attending last night on the H-1B. And there's so many awesome questions. We spent almost 2 hours from 7 to 9. And that's, and when it comes to express entry, it's no different. And so, so I'm so grateful, and I share here freely. Right. So anyways, it's hard. You'll never, you'll never please all the haters. That's for sure. Okay. Let's see. I think I saw a super come up here. I better hit that one. Let's see. Olisin. Okay. Ulu says, is there super chat for Facebook watchers? No, there isn't. You need to slide over to YouTube because the super doesn't work on Facebook. So let's see what Olu's question is here. Okay. All right. And remember, if it's super specific, you guys, even if you do a super, I can't give specific legal advice. Submitted my EIPR 2 days ago and got my AOR almost immediately. Yeah, you do. It's instantaneous. Can I apply for the bridging open work permit now, or I have to wait for the completeness eligibility check to pass before applying? CEC inland on a closed work permit. I thought the biometrics request letter comes within 24 to 48 hours after submission. When can I expect to receive the biometric request? Okay, so first thing, once you get that letter, you can apply for a bridging open work permit. So once you get, when you submit it, you get the confirmation. And then in that, your acknowledgement of receipt, it specifically tells you can apply for your bridging open work permit. So yes, you can. You don't need to wait. And in fact, you don't even know when the official completeness check even takes place. In a way, to some extent, the system itself is designed to do the completeness, when you submit. But in fairness, people could upload anything they want into the form, into the document checklist. And so it's not an official completeness check, but you can absolutely use that letter. I've done it countless times before. Now, in terms of your second question about the biometrics, it varies. It depends. It doesn't automatically come. Remember, for years, well, not years, but through the pandemic, they backed away from biometrics for people inside Canada. And now they're kind of re-upping it. And so it's going to take time for that to get back into a seamless process. Okay, good. Glad I could help with that one there. Okay, let's get back online. And once again, if your question is super specific and I don't get to it, that's probably why, because I'm trying to pick the questions that are going to be the most help to everybody out there. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, Alva says, I think, Alva, are you in Peru? I can't remember. So Chris, hello, Mark, applying for a temporary work permit through the Atlantic Immigration Program. Should I wait to apply for PR at least a month after? This is something, once again, I really recommend you book a consult. And Chris, do you have someone that is assisting you? How did you get connected with the employer? The Atlantic Immigration Program is really an employer-driven stream, and I would hope that there'd be people to guide you and direct you with that. But I recommend that you book a consult, and we can chat through that. Okay, Aslis says, hey, Mark, my H-1B is valid till 2025. Yes, I was laid off earlier this year in the US, and I'm back in India now after 60 days. Will I be eligible for the new H-1B pathway to Canada? Thanks for these Q&As. I hear you, Asta. And this is the part that's just really cruel. As I talk to people and I learn what the US does when someone loses their job, 60 days to find another job or hit the road after you've spent thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars on your education. You've devoted your time, your life to the US, and then sorry, you're gone. So cruel. You know, in Canada, if you were on an H-1B equivalent, which is the LMIA process, if you're laid off, you can remain in Canada throughout the whole duration of what's left on your actual work permit document. So if you're laid off and you still have a year left on that work permit, then you can stay in Canada. Now, you can't work for another employer because it's employer specific, but you've got flexibility and time to try to figure things out. My heart goes out to you. At this stage, Astha, I don't know. When we go through the various backgrounds, and this is something that I've covered at length in the courses, and I encourage you, Astha, to go and watch those videos. At this stage, I don't know if individuals who are outside of the US, I have to assume that the answer is probably a no. But if you go and you look at some of the instructions, some of the things that the government has talked about in their tech talent pathway, I'll just share this with you because it's important. This is the most important thing right now for people. You can see here, it says, improving labor mobility in North America by creating a streamlined work permit for H-1B specialty occupation visa holders, where? In the US. So when they say in the US here, I have to assume that that is going to be one of the driving forces. Okay. So I have to assume if you're not in the US, and the hard part is if you take your situation, then realistically, the only people that would be able to apply potentially if they'd been laid off are those that have been laid off within the last 60 days. And we do have one of our clients that was laid off within the last 60 days, and we're going to help them to file their application. But it is, I don't know. It's just cruel. Like, my heart goes out to you guys. All right. Apurva says, what happens if my PR gets approved when I'm outside Canada? Does it get revoked? So I have to apply again? Okay. It depends, Apurva, on the process in which, what type of application you submitted. In some cases, like the TR to PR pathway, it can, your application can get denied. But for other programs like the Canadian Experience class or even the Federal Skilled Worker Program, if there's no job offer linked to it, or there isn't some other thing that requires you to be in Canada, you can be a CEC candidate and you just update them that you're outside of Canada, and then you do the landing from outside of Canada. But Apurva, once again, I recommend you book a consult. These are things like, this is your life. And if you're literally in this situation, Apurva, this is not something that you want to take a chance with. And I need a whole lot more information to give you a direct, any kind of legal advice that's specific to just you. Okay, Simran says, PGWP is going to expire in October 2024. If I get an LMIA from my employer, do I have to work for another 1 year on LMIA to get those 50 points? Or they get added immediately when you get an LMIA? When you get your LMIA, it depends on the kind. So if you have a dual purpose LMIA and it's approved, or a permanent LMIA, or a regular LMIA that's work permit based, like all of those things, once you got that LMIA, it's an LMIA and you can use it for the points. So as soon as it's issued, you can use it for the points, but you need to go forward, and there's a duration on it. Most are 18 months. That's open for a long time. But when you have a work permit that's based on it, and let's say there's the other question about someone saying the work permit's refused, well, that uses up the LMIA. And when your work permit is refused, then the LMIA is spent. And you could make an argument, and people could, they could try to challenge that. I don't know if there's been any specific case law on that, the validity of an LMIA, but once the work permit is rejected, that usually spends the LMIA. Okay, let's see what's next here. Yeah, and once again, Caddy says, do they take into consideration the regulatory requirements for healthcare draws, because it takes time to transfer a license in Canada and one may not be able to work for a long time? They don't. Caddy, we had this discussion. They don't take it into consideration. They don't. So all these lovely healthcare, and that's great, you still have to meet the provincial, requirements for those associations. Okay, let's see what's next. And I'm trying to pick people that I haven't got a question from. Pagal, good to see you. And Pagal says, can you help me, please? I need a work permit. I don't assist in obtaining work permits. Okay. Okay, Murray says, if you're on the list of not codes in the work permit priority list, can you apply to have it expedited because of the existing COVID rule? No. Really, there's no, if you're applying to change employers, can you, I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay. I thought you meant express entry. If you're applying to change employers, can you expedite using the existing COVID rule for priority occupations? Murray, book a consultation. That's book a consult. Okay, Sahil says, CRS 42, got my invite on the March end draw with 481 cutoff. Waiting for my PR. Suggested my sister to join your H1B course. Your channel has been really helpful. Love from India. That's awesome, Sahil. I'd love for your sister to join. It's really easy. All you need to do is just click on the link. There should be a link. If you can't find the link, where am I? I'm all over the place here. If you go to the Canadian Immigration Institute site, there's a link there. No matter where you get to, whichever links, if it takes you directly to the course or to one of the other ones. But for the H1B course, all you need to do is just click on this link here, and you're immediately added in. And this is a dynamic, rapidly expanding and changing and morphing process, because the government has not yet released the specific details of what it's going to look like. But having practiced for 20 years, I have a very, very good idea what direction they're going to go. I've got my suspicions. And so what I do is I teach everybody everything that I know so that they can be as adaptable as they need to be, depending on what the government actually releases. In the TR to PR pathway, which is another similar process, they had, for example, International Graduate Stream had 40,000 spots. And my goodness, those spots filled up for permanent residents faster than you could imagine. My record for students, and I workshopped like 500 people through that program, I think the record was 5.5 minutes to get their entire PR application in. And guess what? They had it processed in literally 2 weeks. Once they started processing, they had PR. And so this is what I expect for this program as well. Everything I read about this, how they structure it, I can't see how they could do it any other way than a race to file. So July 16th, it is going to be a frenzy, an absolute frenzy. So we did our first master class on July 4th, just last night. It was awesome. It's in the evening, 7 Mountain Time. That's 9 o'clock Eastern Time, so that as many people in the US can benefit so that they're not at work, right? That's the whole goal. So the next master class will be on Thursday, so tomorrow. So, and then starting next week, I'm going to do master classes every single evening, every day, 7 to 9. And so you can see when it comes to, when I have a large group of people all paying, I think it's $347. Yeah. And so depending on where you're at, the system is smart. It will identify the tax that I may need to remit. It's saying 5% because I'm in Canada. But when I have this many people that subscribe, then it is absolutely worth my time to spend the evenings with you to help teach and explain. And so as the government releases any bit of information, we talk about it, we share it. And the interesting part about this as well is sometimes you guys will find things that I don't, and we crowdsource and we become a powerful kind of knowledge gathering organization, if you will, almost like a family. And then I am able to clarify and disabuse people of whatever's online that they find someone saying, oh, it's going to be like this. And I can say, no, it's not. Or they say, hey, I found this out. And we're like, great, that's wonderful intel. Then we all share and learn. And and so the courses right now, it's all master classes, sharing, answering questions with everything that we know to this date. And as the government drips out further information, then that's how people will be right on top and ahead of the game, ahead of everybody else when they're getting ready to file. And like I've talked about repeatedly, I even did a video on this. If you have a representative that you can trust, someone who knows the system, lawyer, consultant, whatever, who truly does, and you know you're number one on that list, then yes, you may consider using them. But for me and my firm, we will not take more than one person or one family, each of us, because I honestly believe that this work permit application is going to be filled up in hours, maybe less than hours, on that first day. And once the 10,000 is hit, it's done. And then they're going to process. And you can see, I've talked about this in previous videos, 0 to 12 months for processing. So anyways, thanks so much, Sahil, in short, for referring your sister. And what's her name? I'll watch out for her. Okay, Akram, why Quebec doesn't want FSW to reside within the province? It's because they have their own separate immigration programs. And they have their own deal with the government, and anyone looking to immigrate to Quebec, Quebec has its own program. Okay, let's see. Let's see what else here. Good morning to you, Divine. Great to have you here. Okay, so BS says, BS, I wonder if that's BS's comment here is actually short for BS. Today's STEM draw at 46, why RCC is stuck at 46. An EE draw when 46 is cleared till June 21st and June 27th, the EE draw. Remember, you guys, that people come in, people pile in. Not everybody that, that applies. Okay, let's take a look, because I know what you're getting. You're saying, shouldn't all those people have been swept out with the previous draw? There's a ton of people that come in after the date of the last round of invitations. So you can see here, you're talking about June 21st. It was 486 is cleared till June 21st, and June 27th express entry draw. So like new people come in, people decline previous ITAs and go back into the pool. There's a whole bunch of different factors. So that's what you have to take into consideration. Okay. Let's see what else here. Hemenveer, yes. The best thing when we take help from you that we work directly with you instead of any intermediary, and that's the best thing. Well, I like to think it is. Okay. Okay. And then, okay, Argent Tech. Yes. I saw your email. Argent, I saw it. And the reality is, like, you just needed to book a consult. So may you please explain job offer requirements to get 50 points. Is a PR stream LMIA enough to get points? Okay. So this is one that it may be enough. It may be, but a PR LMIA, what level is it? Like, there's so many more questions, and that's why the consultation is really what you need to do. Even if you've taken the course before, as an immigration consultant, you still need to connect with me and book a consult for us so I can understand your whole client situation. And because can it be enough? The LMIA, when it's approved, does grant 50 points if it is tier 3 or higher. It does. And so, yeah, as far as answering beyond that, I don't know from your question a lot of details. And so, yeah, Arjun, I recommend you book a consult. Andy, good to see you. It was great seeing you in the H-1B holder course last night. Thanks for your contributions. Thanks for your support. You guys, you immigration consultants out there that truly care about being, just really knowledgeable and experts in your field. I love having you a part of this. You guys are awesome. Okay. Any updates on French category-based draws? I don't know. I think they've got a target for how many they want to bring in. And so it's entirely possible. Maybe in the coming weeks, we'll see a French one. We'll just have to see. Okay. Emin Veer says, Mark, when are you going to make a video regarding whose spouse is outland and we're eligible for open work permit while we wait for our express entry application to be approved? Okay, I'm not quite sure, Emin Veer, if I know what you mean. Like, if you filed an open work permit and it's just stalled out and it's just not going forward, is that the issue? Or is it because it was refused? That's a real specific one. So maybe you can give me a little bit more, direct. Okay. So yeah, Arjun, this stuff, you really need to book a consult because I know where you're going with this, and it's not possible for me to answer it in here. Is there any way to get an LMIA exemption through the AINP other than treaties? I've emailed the province, no answer. The Alberta Advantage Immigration Program, so it's no longer AINP. The Alberta Advantage Immigration Program does not issue R204C letters willy-nilly. Like it depends on the program. It depends on what stage the person's work permit is at. And yeah. Okay. That's, I'll have to leave it at that, Arjun. Okay. Yes, ask the stuck at 478 and express entry. Hopefully I make it through the next STEM draw. We'll keep our fingers crossed for you. Okay. All right. So Hardy says the H-1B program will open on July 16th. That's correct. But will that be the day where the rules procedures are published and then applicants have submitted documents, or just the rules and then a date to start submitting? So here's what happened. So with the TR to PR pathway, I was the national chair of the Canadian Bar Association's immigration section. So I was in a number of technical briefings with the head person who ran it, who was the mastermind behind the program. She's no longer with IRCC, but I had a number of conversations with her. I had a pretty good idea where things were going, but they did not actually release the program guide until the day before. And, I've been very critical of them about that. And I'm going to pull up the minister again here, and I'm going to say, Minister, at the very least, you need to give people a week notice. So I will be extremely disappointed if the minister and his department do not release detailed information on how to apply by, well, really July 10th. I think it's very, very difficult for people to plan their life and to genuinely have an opportunity to submit the applications without instructions at least July 10th. So that's what I would hope to see. But like I said, the minister and the department, sometimes they make these big announcements and they're just scrambling to get everything organized and approved and in such a short time frame, and they just don't have it ready. And then they just toss it out at the last minute. So Hardy, it's entirely possible that they could release the information only on the Saturday or the Friday before. And can you imagine, like July 15th, that Saturday, they released the information? It's entirely possible that they could do that. But the difference between, everybody else and the people that are a part of my H-1B visa holder course, these folks right here, is that leading up to it, I give people all of the tools that they need. We've created our lists of what I believe could be possible documents they could ask for, so that all of the students in my course, they all have queued up as many of these documents as they can, and they may not need some of them. And the same thing goes for the information. We examine carefully, and last night we even looked through all the existing work permit processes to see all of the things that they've possibly asked for in the past. And then I've given them instructions on start collecting all of this stuff now. And then the moment I see, because they could do PDF forms the way they do, where you can fill them in advance, and that would be bliss. Then people could fill them in, and all they have to do is upload. But I suspect that it's not going to be like that. I suspect, in all honesty, if you want to look and see, I think it's going to be one of the online platforms, and we'll see how all of that unfolds. But that's my view on all of this. So no, I wish they'd release it right now. I wish they would have done it when the minister was up on stage, doing his grand, celebratory, well, like he was a celebrity, the tech conference, at the Collision conference last week in Toronto. I wish they would have had it ready to go then, so people could start to figure out, what they needed to do. But that's not how this department operates. They're big on announcements and then very little on details until the last moment. But notwithstanding, what government has ever done this? Like, I think this is pretty amazing. Okay, we'll answer a couple more questions, and I'm going to wrap it up, you guys. Okay. Okay, here's a tough one from a LinkedIn user. I haven't fulfilled my residency obligations as I couldn't get a suitable job in Canada. Also was stuck and couldn't travel to Canada. Is there any leniency for the COVID period? It's really tough. I recommend you book a consult. I really do. But it's really, really tough to be able to sort that out. Really tough. Book a consult. We can talk about potential options. Okay. Okay. Dushyant, we'll finish with an express entry one here. Once we receive an ITA, how many days does one get to accept it? 60. So basically, and what it means by accepting is completing your entire EAPR application, your electronic application for permanent residence, and submitting it. Okay, we'll wrap it up there, guys. I don't know if there's anything else that is super pressing. I will be back right again. Wagner, good to see you from Brazil. I will be back with Alicia tomorrow at noon, and you can bring your questions if you didn't get a chance to get them answered. But thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. And as always, this wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for all of your good questions. I would be sitting here waving at you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And yesterday, I finally had a nice day off, and I want to show you guys what I saw. I'm going to finish off something a little bit different. I'm going to finish off with with what I saw yesterday out at Waterton National Park, one of my absolute favorite places to be. And I'm going to share with you what I saw out there as I sign off. Thanks, guys.